Hi, I'm Robi, also known as ambroscrochet somewhere on the internet, and today I'm going to show you how to make these cute little penguins, so let's get to it. So here's what we will need: some yarn in a few colors. Specifically, I went with black, grey and white for chenille, and then some black acrylic yarn. So I'm going to be using two different crochet hooks, the 4.5mm for chenille and then the 3mm for acrylic yarn. But if you're going to be using just acrylic yarn, that's still the same, so it's still obviously the same weight. You might want to adjust the pattern because obviously the beak and the feet are going to be too big if you use, for example, a 3mm crochet hook to make both the head, the body, and then like the beak. Okay, and then we are going to be needing some 12mm safety eyes, pins, tapestry needle or just needle and thread, scissors, and then some toy stuffing. Here are the stitches we will be working with: a magic ring, not a stitch, but we will need it, single crochet, increase, single crochet, decrease, chain stitch, and color changes will come into play pretty heavily, so you might want to be familiar with that. Okay, so the head and the body are attached, so you don't have to sew them together, but we are going to be starting from the head because the amigurumi is worked top to bottom. So we're going to start with the black yarn and our 4.5mm crochet hook, and we're going to start with the magic ring, and then we are going to be making 6 single crochets into the magic ring. Okay, and once that is done, we move on to round 2, which is going to be 1 increase in each stitch for a total of 6 increases. So at the end, we're going to have 12 single crochets. Sorry, I forgot the candle. Can't have a tutorial in December without a candle. Can't have a tutorial without a fire start. Can't. Okay, so now that round 2 is done, we can move on to round 3, which is going to be 1 single crochet and then 1 increase, repeated 6 times in total. So at the end, we're going to have 18 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so once round 3 is done, we can move on to round 4, which is going to be 2 single crochets and then 1 increase, repeated 6 times. So at the end, we're going to have 24 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so now that round 4 is done, we move on to round 5, which is where color changes will come into play. So first of all, we are going to be making, still in black, 3 single crochets and then 1 increase. Now when it comes to the color changes, I'm going to be changing colors as you do with tapestry crochet. So if you want to see me explain this, you can go watch the video about the tote bag. Hopefully I posted it, because if I didn't, this is going to be pointless, but you can go watch that video because I explain how to do that, but you can change colors however you want. So I'm going to change colors now. So you make 3 single crochets, 1 increase. If you are following the tapestry crochet method, you know you don't have to finish making the last single crochet, but that's if you're not doing it, you don't care about that. So we're going to take our white yarn and we are going to be making 2 single crochets using that white yarn. And once you've made those 2 single crochets, you go back to the black yarn and you are going to make 1 single crochet and then 1 increase. And then you go back to the white yarn. Yeah, I know it's a little bit of work, but it's worth it, I promise. And then you have to make 2 single crochets. Okay, and then you go back to your black yarn and you have to make 1 single crochet and then 1 increase. If I'm going too fast, just rewind. It's fine. I think I might be going too fast. Hopefully I'm not, but if I am, please feel free to just go back and rewatch it. You don't need me to tell you that, but just in case. Okay, and then we are going to be making 3 single crochets and 1 increase 3 times, okay, to finish the round. So I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, so now round 5 is done, so we move on to round 6. Keep your black and your white yarn handy because we will still be switching colors. So first of all, we're going to start by making 4 single crochets in black. And then we will make 1 single crochet in the next stitch, 1 single crochet in black, and then you get your white yarn. Hopefully you can find the end of it. So you get your white yarn, and in that same stitch where you've made your last black single crochet, you're also going to be making 1 white single crochet, like so. And then we are going to be making 3 single crochets using your white yarn. And once you've made those 3 single crochets, you go back to your black yarn and you are going to be making 1 single crochet in black, and then into the next stitch again we are going to be making 1 single crochet in black, and then still in that same stitch you switch to your white yarn, and again in that same stitch where you've made your last black single crochet you're going to be making 1 white single crochet, and then we are going to be making 3 single crochets in white. And then using your black yarn we are going to be making 1 single crochet in black, then 1 increase in black, and then we are going to finish the round by making 4 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated 3 times, still in black. So I'll see you when that is done. Okay, so now that round 6 is done, we move on to round 7. So we are going to make 4 single crochets in black, and then we are going to switch to our white yarn and we are going to make 5 single crochets in white. And then we are going to go back to our black yarn and we are going to make 2 single crochets in black, and then go back to our white yarn and we are going to make 5 single crochets in white. And then we go back to the black yarn and we are just going to make 20 single crochets in black, so we are going to finish the round by making those 20 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, now that round 7 is done, we move on to round 8, which is going to be exactly the same as round 7. So I'm just going to write it one more time. I'm not going to show you because that would be a little bit of a waste of time, and I'll be back to make round 9. Okay, so here is round 8. Got it? Perfect. See you later. Okay, so now that round 8 is done, we can move on to round 9, which is going to be, first of all, 4 single crochets in black. Then we're going to switch to our white yarn. And we are going to make 12 single crochets in white. Then we go back to our black yarn and we are going to make 20 single crochets in black, and that's going to end the round, so I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, so now that round 9 is done, we move on to rounds 10 and 11, which are going to be the exact same as round 9. So again, I'm going to write them again, memorize them. I'm kidding, you can obviously pause the video, but I'm going to be making those off camera and then I'll be back. So the next 2 rounds are just the same as round 9, so I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, so round 11 is done. We can move on to round 12, which is going to start with 4 single crochets in black, 4 single crochets, and then 1 decrease still in black, and then we switch to our white yarn, and we are going to make 4 single crochets and then 1 decrease in white. Okay, and then we are going to make 3 single crochets in white. And then we go back to our black yarn. And we are going to make 1 single crochet and then 1 decrease to start in black again. And then we are going to make 4 single crochets and then 1 decrease 3 times, so that's going to end the round. So 4 single crochets and then 1 decrease, repeated 3 times, so I'll be back once that is done. Okay, and once round 12 is done, we can move on to round 13, which is going to start with 3 single crochets and then 1 decrease still in black yarn. And then still using your black yarn, you're going to be making 1 more single crochet. And then we switch to our white yarn. And you have to make 2 single crochets. And then 1 decrease. And then 2 single crochets. And then we are going to go back to our black yarn. And you have to make 1 single crochet and then 1 decrease. And then to finish the round, we have to make 3 single crochets and then 1 decrease, repeated 3 times, so that's going to, as I said, end the round. So I will see you once that is done as well. Okay, so now that round 13 is done, we can move on to round 14, which is going to be the last round where we have to change colors, I promise. So we are going to be making 2 single crochets in black and then 1 decrease still in black. And then again 2 single crochets still in black. And then we are going to change colors. And we are going to make in white 1 decrease and then 1 single crochet, so 1 decrease. And then 1 single crochet, and then we are going to change colors once more, and we are going to make 1 single crochet and then 1 decrease. And then we are just going to finish the round by making 2 single crochets and then 1 decrease, repeated 3 times, so that's going to finish our round. And yeah, I guess I'll just split this up. Okay, so once that is done, you want to change colors again. I promise you this is the last color change. It's not about black and white. We have to switch to our grey yarn to make the body. Okay, so before we move on to the body, you want to place the safety eyes. So I placed them between rounds 8 and 9, and they are 4 stitches apart from me, 1 stitch from the color change, from the closest color change. Obviously, you can place them wherever you like. You can do whatever you want with the eyes and with anything else, to be honest. But this is just how I did it. So if you want to do it the same way, those are the instructions, I suppose, that you want to use. Okay, so the first round of the body is actually going to be round 15, and it's just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch for a total of 18 single crochets, so I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so now that round 15 is done, we can move on to round 16, which is going to be 2 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated 6 times, so at the end we're going to have 24 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, and once we're done with round 16, we can move on to round 17, which is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of round 17, we will still have 24 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, and once round 17 is done, we can move on to round 18, which is going to be 3 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated 6 times. So at the end, we're going to have 30 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, and with round 18 done, we can move on to round 19, which is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of round 19, we will still have 30 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, and with round 19 done, we can move on to round 20, which is going to be 4 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated 6 times as usual. So at the end, we're going to have 36 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, now that we're done with round 20, we can move on to rounds 21 to 24. So the next 4 rounds are just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of round 21, 22, 23 and 24, we will still have 36 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so now that we're done with round 24, before we move on to round 25, you might want to start stuffing the head specifically. And 2 things, because chenille is so soft, it doesn't hold the shape of the amigurumi as well as, let's say, acrylic or even like cotton, obviously cotton being the one that holds the shape the best. But because chenille is so soft, you want to work with the stuffing a little bit so that it holds the shape of the amigurumi instead of the yarn doing all the work, if that makes sense. So first of all, you want to make sure that the head is a little bit, not flat necessarily at the bottom, but if you remember, we just decreased here, so the head shouldn't be too round, you know, it should be like around and then a little bit of a straighter line. Hopefully that's making some sense. So make sure that you just do this basically, okay, so that the head takes the shape that the amigurumi had, that the pattern had specifically. And the second thing, don't stuff the neck too much, because otherwise it's going to look a little bit different, which obviously, you know, if you want it to look a little bit different, that's fine. You can stuff the neck as much as you want, but those are my 2 pieces of advice, I suppose. Okay, so now we move on to round 25, which is going to be 4 single crochets and then 1 decrease repeated as usual 6 times. So at the end, we're going to have 30 single crochets. So this is my decrease, there we go. So we're going to have 30 single crochets at the end, and I'll see you when I have those done. Okay, and with round 25 done, we can move on to round 26, which is going to be 3 single crochets and then 1 decrease repeated 6 times. So at the end of the round, we are going to have 24 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so now that round 26 is done, we can move on to round 27, which is going to be 2 single crochets and then 1 decrease repeated 6 times. So at the end, we're going to have 18 single crochets. And also you might want to start stuffing the body between rounds 26, 27, 28. So the next few rounds, or even now, you might want to start stuffing the body, and I will see you when I have that done. Okay, so now that round 27 is done, we can move on to round 28, which is going to be 1 single crochet and then 1 decrease repeated 6 times. So at the end, we're going to have 12 single crochets, and I will see you when I have this done. Don't forget to stuff the body. Okay, so with round 28 done, we can move to the last round, which is going to be round 29, and it's going to be just 6 decreases as usual. I'm not going to do it on camera because it's a little bit difficult to show you, but it's just going to be 6 decreases. So at the end, we're going to have 6 single crochets, and I will see you when I have that done. Again, if you need to finish stuffing the body, this is the time to do it. Alright, so now that round 29 is done, we are just going to slip stitch and then cut the yarn, leaving just a little bit of a tail to adjust that final round. Okay, so here are the head and the body done, and now we move on to the wings. Okay, so still sticking with our grey yarn, we are going to work on the wings. So we are going to start with a magic ring as per usual. And round 1 is going to be 6 single crochets into the magic ring. Okay, and then we move on to round 2, which is going to be 6 increases, so 1 increase in each stitch, and we will have 12 single crochets at the end of round 2. Okay, and once round 2 is done, we move on to rounds 3 to 7, so the next 5 rounds are just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of rounds 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7 we will still have 12 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, and once round 7 is done, we are just going to slip stitch and then cut the yarn, leaving just a little bit of a tail so that we can sew the wing to the body. Okay, so this is the wing done, and remember you have to make 2 of these. Okay, so now we are going to work on the feet, and we're going to use some, I'm going to use some black acrylic yarn, and we are going to start as usual with a magic ring. Okay, so we are going to start by making 6 chains. And then starting from the second chain from the hook in that first chain that we have, so technically the second chain from the hook. So in the second chain from the hook, we are going to make 2 single crochets. And then we are going to make 1 single crochet in each of the next 3 chains. And then in that last chain, we are going to make 4 single crochets. Okay, so as you can see, by making those 4 single crochets in the last chain, we kind of naturally have to turn our work, which is what we want, because now we are going to be working on the other side of the chain, so you want to turn your work. Okay, and work on the other side of the chain, and we are going to make 1 single crochet in each of the next 3 chains. Okay, and then in that last chain we are going to make 2 single crochets. Okay, so now for the next 3 rounds we are just going to be making 1 single crochet in each stitch. So we now have 14 single crochets, so at the end of rounds 2, 3 and 4 we will still have 14 single crochets. You don't have to join, you don't have to do anything, just keep working in rounds as we did before. So I will see you when I have those done, and don't forget we have to make 2 of these. Okay, and once round 4 is done, we are just going to slip stitch as usual and then leave a little bit of a tail so that we can sew. As usual, I left way too much. And this is what the feet are going to look like. So you just have to flatten them, you don't need to stuff them or anything. This is just what they're going to look like. And now we move on to the beak. Okay, so still using our black acrylic yarn, we are going to be making the beak. So we are going to start with a magic ring. And then we are going to chain 3. This is a little bit small, so if you have any issues working with it, it's normal, it's just that it's a little bit small, but it's fine, you'll get through it. Okay, so starting from the second chain from the hook, we have to make 2 single crochets into that chain. And then in the next chain, you want to make 4 single crochets. Now, by making those 4 chains, we get the same effect that we had with the feet, so we normally have to, or we naturally have to turn our work to keep working, which is why we have to work on the other side of the chain. So we want to work on the other side of the chain, and we get that by increasing other corners. So now we just make 2 single crochets into the next chain, and that is round 1 done. So round 2 is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch, so at the end we will have 8 single crochets, and I will see when I have those done. Okay, so I know you can't see much, but now that round 2 is done, we can move on to round 3, which is going to be 3 single crochets and then 1 increase repeated twice. So at the end we're going to have 10 single crochets, and wait for it. Okay, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so now that round 3 is done, we move on to the last round, which is just going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So at the end of round 4 we will just have 10 single crochets, and I will see you when I have those done. Okay, so round 4 is our last round, so we're just going to slip stitch and, as usual, cut the yarn, leaving just a little bit of a tail to sew. And you don't really need to stuff the beak, but if you want to you can. I'm not going to, but you can just stuff it a little bit. And the shape that you want it to have is you want to follow the starting chains, so you want it to be flat, and the starting chain has to be kind of like your guideline for where you fold it, basically where you flatten it. Okay, so that's the beak done, and now we just have to assemble the amigurumi. Okay, so first I'm going to show you where to place the wings, or where I'm going to place the wings. You can place them wherever you'd like. So I placed them on round 16, and I placed them counting 6 stitches from on the front. So there are 6 stitches apart on the front. I know that doesn't really tell you much about where you should place them exactly on the body, but again, it's something you have to kind of see for yourself. So you can use the color change from black to white to see where you should place them, or what I find very useful is to look at the amigurumi from this perspective and kind of check that the wings are symmetrical. So it's just trial and error, and I think that's it. Oh, one thing. You can either sew the 2 sides of the wings shut before you sew the wings to the body, or you can do it as you're sewing the wings to the body. So I usually prefer to do it while I'm sewing the wings to the body, but it's your choice. So I'll be back once those are sewn to the body. Okay, so now that the wings are sewn to the body, we are going to sew the beak, which is going to be the easiest part because it should go on round 9, which you can immediately see because it's the round where we stopped working with the black in the middle of the 2 white parts. So it's just going to go right there in between the eyes. So you kind of want to center it, but it should be such that it's basically just enough, like the spacing between the eyes is just enough for the beak. So that should be pretty simple. So something like that, and I will see you once that is sewn to the head. Okay, so now that the beak is done, we are going to sew the feet. Now this is probably going to be the trickiest part, but it's fine, it's nothing too difficult. So what I suggest you do, but obviously you can pick your own method, but what I would do is you can trace kind of like an imaginary line from the center of the beak down to the 27th round of the body, and then from that imaginary line, which kind of ends up right here for me, you count 1 stitch to the right and 1 stitch to the left, and you place the feet starting from that stitch. Okay, so you count 1 stitch and then you place the first foot, and then you count 1 stitch the other way and you place the second foot, and they don't have to follow the round, they have to be straight. Okay, and then you can check the same way that you did for the wings. You can kind of check from this perspective if they look symmetrical, which in my case I think they kind of do. They're quite tricky for me as well to place, so I'm gonna do that and I'll be back. And the same as it went for the wings goes for the feet. So you want to either sew them shut before you sew them to the body, or do the sewing of the body and the feet together. And also you might want to not just sew this part, but also a little bit of the side so that the feet kind of stay attached to the body a little bit better. Okay, so that's all, and then we'll be done. Okay, so the penguin is all sewn up and ready to be gifted to someone if you want to gift him to someone, since the holiday season is coming up, or if you want to keep him for yourself, obviously. And I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If there is anything that was maybe unclear, feel free to leave me a comment and send me questions on my social media as well, which is probably somewhere on the screen right now. And if you have any pattern or tutorial requests for the future, please feel free to let me know with a comment or through social media. And yeah, I think I should have a few more videos up on my YouTube channel for December, but I don't know, because I didn't plan this very well, so I have no idea what's going to happen, but maybe feel free to check those out as well. And if you'd like to subscribe, leave a comment, leave a like, that's always much appreciated. And maybe I'm also doing something on Instagram, but I'm not sure, because again, didn't plan this, so I have no idea. And yeah, I think I'll just see you in the next one. Bye!